Hello everyone, how you all doing? Welcome to this episode of Last Words. My name is Hassan Raju, and on the podcast today, I'll be talking to you about President-elect Joe Biden's Thursday speech that he calls America Rescue Plan. He talked about his proposal for $1.9 trillion for the pandemic relief. Because as you know, the last one that we got, the $900 billion pandemic relief that Trump signed last year, December. They call it a down payment. So now we're trying to get the full payment. And it's a very important one, and we should be talking about it. However, there are other things I also like to mention. Like, in the later part of this podcast, I'm talking about the fact that President-elect Joe Biden will also making another, spending bill proposal in February. And that will be talking about, we'll be detailing how we'll be taxing corporate firms and the money and what this administration is looking to be doing in the near future. But let us go and start talking about this $1.9 trillion. And we just really give ourselves a quick roundup, and that way we can also know what is going on. So now what's going on is this. $1.9 trillion is earmarked for this whole process. All right. And this, how they want to spend it, is in three parts. $400 billion will be spent on testing, distribution, and inoculation of the vaccine. $1 trillion will be spent on giving Americans $1,400, and those who are unemployed will be getting an extra $400 added to their unemployment benefits till September. There's a caveat there, I'll tell you in a short while. And the third part of it is that $350 billion will be given to states and local governments that are struggling during this pandemic period. It's a form of bailout to the government's people. And there's another quick case of how will the Senate pass this? Well, fortunately, right now, the Democratic Party has control of the Congress and also the Senate. Not by a lot, but the margin is a very slim margin, but at least they have control, So maybe they can get things done moving in that direction right now. So I just want to talk about that quickly. I want to make this podcast as short and to the point as I can. Now, let's talk about it. I believe strongly that Americans need funds, we need help, we need assistance. And I also object to the fact that our need and wants should not be misconstrued. I don't like a situation whereby the special interest people take advantage of this situation. Because if you're going to give Americans direct payments of that, you bought it like $1 trillion for Americans, are you sure Americans need that much money? Or are there some other things in that American Rescue Plan proposal that meets the eyes? You know what I'm saying? Are there things to it that we don't know? Because if there are, please let us know now. Because understand this, guys. This $1.9 trillion, as well as the $900 billion and the one that Trump passed earlier on, which is it $2.7 trillion? I'm not sure. All of that money are all coming from somewhere. They are not coming from America. We are borrowing the money. We're talking about more than $4 trillion in debt. We should keep that in mind, because this money, we must pay this money back at some point or another. I know. And I salute Biden's plan in terms of getting this economy back to running, or getting us back to normal. Because according to what I'm reading, he's planning to get us, transition us back to normal by around that fall period this year. That's around September, August, September, that kind of period. And I think that's good. And I can't wait to be able to go to parties, go to events, go to restaurants, be able to eat and meet with my friends, and being in the company of people that I like. But at what expense? So we should be looking at that. Now, what I think is this, because this thing also be looking at, it will also be taking care of people who are undocumented immigrants, but are married to American citizens. They'll be taking care of them. They'll also be taking care of people who are dependents, who claim them as dependents in their taxes, because last $900 billion did not take care of those people, and also some disabled people as well. So I think those are really powerful things, and I salute that. Now, the idea is this. You want to ask yourself, why is Biden doing this thing right now? Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me, I want to consider yourself blessed. And if you're somewhere else in the world, follow along with this, what I'm saying. And you can also verify this thing from mainstream media. I mean, I'm reading this thing from New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal, AP News, and so on and so forth. Because I like to read extensively to be able to get us the full gist of what is going on. So, nearly 1 million people filed for unemployment last week. Guys, nearly 1 million people. That is staggering. Because the last time we had that kind of number was in August. So people are being furloughed a lot more now than before. Every day we are hitting new records. Before it was 2,000 people that died daily. Later it became 3,000 people. Now, on Tuesday, we lost more than 4,200 Americans to COVID-19. 4,200 Americans in this country, guys. This is not for a week. This is not for a month. This is for a day. And it's shocking. So I can see the reason why President-elect Joe Biden is talking with a sense of urgency, as he should. And I really applaud that. So I see the reason why he's saying that, listen, we're going to have to, and it's talking about he wants to get as much as 100 million people inoculated in 100 days of his tenure. That is remarkable. That's a phenomenal achievement if he's able to pull that off. Remember that America was supposed to vaccinate about 20 million people in December, or by the end of last year. We are never able to reach 4 million people that were vaccinated last month, coming into this year. So, but with $400 billion that is earmarked for that whole distribution and inoculation and testing and all that, I think we can do that. If you're able to get 100 million people inoculated, that is, injected in their arm in 100 days, that is a major achievement. If he gives American people 1,400 or 2,000 lives like Ocasio-Cortez is talking about, we're going to love him. But guys, the devil is in the details, guys. I still do not believe that American people need $1 trillion in terms of direct payments for these vaccines. I mean, for their vaccine, for their unemployment benefit and the rest of that. I don't know. So, remember last time it was 5,000 pages. Maybe it's going to be like 10,000 pages, because you'll be surprised what's going to be in that, what's be tucked into those bills. You're going to see some things that doesn't even concern American people, that is not related to this pandemic whatsoever. So my point is this: we should not be incurring enormous debt, serving and servicing special interest. That's my thing. We need all that money, but do we need to spend $1.9 trillion to get us to that point? That's the big question. Remember, what I've just told you right now is they've just told us how they spend $1.75 trillion. What about the minimum $50 billion? How would they spend it? We don't know. So those are the things that I found to be poignant questions that we need answers for, literally. And now, the second case is that, would they even pass these things? Because it says there that Democrats have narrow margins in both chambers of Congress, and Republicans will push back on issues that range from increasing the minimum wage to providing more money for states while demanding inclusion of their priorities, such as liability protection for businesses. So on those three issues, the Republicans are likely to push back, which would be a good segue for me to talk about the next thing that you talked about. Okay, it's here. So Biden is also set to unveil another set of spending proposal in February, which will lay the groundwork for tax increase on corporations and rich people. So in that February, spending proposal, he has been talking about before now for a while actually, that Americans deserve to be getting at least $15 an hour federal minimum wage. So the Republicans are like, that is too much. We cannot afford to do that. And we are like, this America, people should be getting good pay for their services. I mean, it's not about minimum, it's about living wage. Can you survive on that money? So $15, they say, I think you can still be able to squeeze some things out, be able to buy some juice, pay some bills and all those things. So those are things that Republicans are having problems with. Minimum wage, bailing out states and local governments, even though some of those states are Republican-run states, And also, of all this that I've talked about, Biden did not mention the liability protection for businesses. He did not mention that. And those are the sticky points in the last bill that they passed late last year, in December. So we're talking about real issues now. So I'm thinking to myself, if you say you want to be able to reach out to the people at the other end of the aisle, and you're not talking about their own interest, how would they do this? Now this is the interesting part. The Biden camp are already talking about if the Republicans are not willing to get on board with them, they're going to use what they call the budget reconciliation measure, which will basically essentially they will not even need their vote for Biden to pass these bills. So long as they have their own people all on board, they don't need Mitch McConnell and his people to be on board, the conservatives in the House. They call that budget reconciliation. Obama used it when he passed the Obamacare bill and Obamacare Act, and Trump also used it when he did the tax cut. All right, so they say that Biden should use this too, but there's a caveat to that. All right, and the caveat is that, but that path comes with restrictions, including a limited number of times Democrats can use it this year, and rules that confine reconciliation bills to tax and fiscal matters rather than broader policies. So there are rules of engagement even for you to use that measure. So now they have to think about everything carefully before they start going to those things. And if you're new in your administration, do you want to start using those measures right now? I mean, this is an opportunity that he has right now in his hands, because they have control of House of legislation. They are in control of the reps. They are in control of the Senate, not by law, but they have control basically. So they have the chance now to do that. But I wish they don't have to resolve into doing that. I wish that they can find some people on the other hand, vote and support these agendas, or they can adjust it to fit their own concerns as well. If you have to put some liability protection plan for them, good. If you have to, reduce the money you want to give to state and local government, fine. If you have to, reduce the money, the minimum wage, not by by $1 or so to accommodate their wish, fine. You have to be able to negotiate and also get things done. So this is the thing that is going on. Those are the point. Those are very sticky issues. And talking about that, now I think that'll lead me to the second part of this podcast. So it says here, Biden will also, like I said, also unveil another set of spending proposals in February. All So in that one, it'll be talking about how you will increase taxes on corporations and the rich. And he had a quote that I really, really like, that could really touch my heart. And if he's able to do this thing that he's talking about, I think I'll be a fan of his. I'm sorry, guys. I think I'll be a fan of his, but we shall see. These are politicians, so we cannot really trust their words until they do it. He said that there is a growing divide between those of, let me take it again. He said that there's a growing divide between those few people at the very top who are doing quite well in this economy and the rest of America. There's a growing divide. Look at that. He said that there's a growing divide between those who are doing extremely well, who are at the top, doing amazingly well. All right. During this time, in this economy, right now, in this America, than the rest of us. And he went further to say, just since this pandemic began, the wealth of the top 1% has grown by roughly $1.5 trillion since the end of last year, 4 times the amount for the entire bottom 50%. 4 times the amount. 4 times of the bottom 50%. God damn, that's a lot. So it's not that, like, even during this period, Tesla got so rich that Elon Musk is now the richest man in the world during this pandemic. Jeff Bezos is making money like crazy. It's all of them. So, and these are not the only rich ones. That there are a lot of rich people, and they're all smiling to the bank. Now, I have a little story. I was talking to a friend of mine, all right? And we were talking. And she said to me that, how can somebody have all that money And there are some people that cannot feed their families, that cannot go to school, that are homeless in this country. And I said to the person that, oh, well, the issue is that it is not the rich person's fault that is rich. If you also have a company and your company is doing extremely fine, you'll be rich, especially when your company is publicly traded. However, we can say, and I think there's a moral encompass to, or moral impetus to for you when you are rich in America to give back, and apart from the moral part of it, you get some kind of tax relief, right? If you're rich and you start doing some charity stuff, government give you tax break because they're trying to encourage you to be charitable. All right, there's that, and we can say that okay, if you're making more than X amount of money, you should be at least contributing X percentage of your money to charity stuff. But you don't have to do it. This is America. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to do it. However, it is the government's problem, it's their prerogative to take care of each and everybody in their country. In this country, the rich don't pay taxes, the poor, the rest of us, we pay a lot of taxes. That is part of the capitalistic nature of America. So, what Biden is saying here is that he's going to tax the rich and those big corporations so that it can take the money that they will get from those people, from those corporations, to take care of people that have got housing issues, schooling issues, food problems. The people are hungry. Remember, we have millions of kids in this country that are going to bed hungry. So we can use that money for those things, and that's what they should do. You shouldn't expect Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or what's his name, Warren Buffett and just of them, to start feeding people on the streets. That's not their job. But if you tax them adequately, you can use the money to go and take care of those who are on the street, who are having issues with hunger, who cannot have a place to stay. That's the whole idea of taking from the few to take care of the plenty. So that's how I see it. And then he went further to say that the second package is expected to be centered on job creation and infrastructure, including hundreds of billions of dollars of spending on clean energy projects like electric vehicle charging stations, along with healthcare and education spending. So clearly, I remember when I was campaigning, he said that when he thinks about green energy, he thinks about job. That you're going to get a lot of jobs. However, I read this morning, on New York. Is it New York Post? That's a conservative newspaper, by the way. They were saying that, and they never criticize Biden, but they're saying that we should not lose sight of jobs that we may lose while we're trying to create these jobs in the renewable energy sector. And I think that's a very important dichotomy that we have to keep in mind. We cannot say because we're going to get 10 million jobs in the renewable energy industry and we should lose 10 million or 50 million or 20 million jobs in the coal mining industry. We have to find a good, healthy balance, and that's upon Biden as well. So he's got what is what cut out for him right now. You know what I'm saying? So I think what he's doing is right. We're going to get jobs in the energy sector, but we may also have problem losing jobs in other sector. And if you lose more jobs than you're able to create in the energy sector, what about the level of qualifications? Who are those that will be qualified to work in the energy sector? What if those qualifications does not, is not necessary or is not needed for those who are in other sectors that may lose their jobs? So we have to find a balance, because they're talking about everything being automated. And okay, before I even go into that, they say here that, it's going to spending on clean energy projects like electric vehicles, charging stations. Beautiful. You have to have a lot of charging stations for our Teslas and all these other beautiful EV vehicles, okay? Along with healthcare and education spending. Beautiful things. Those are really powerful things. And if he anchors his administration on those three things, renewable energy, which is going to cost billions of dollars, education and healthcare, I think those are, and also infrastructure. I think those are, those are really big things. says centered on job creation and infrastructure. So infrastructure, green energy, healthcare, and education. You can't go wrong with those ideas because we have to go green the way this world is going. But we have to also understand that we have something in place right now. We cannot lose sight of those things. So what am I saying in essence is that at the end of the day, President-elect Joe Biden must look at everything in a very broad view and be able to help Americans. And I like his approach so far. He's talking with a sense of urgency, and I like that. And he's very measured in his approach. But his proposal has completely forgotten the needs and the aspirations of the Republicans. And that may be a problem for this to be passed. And he does not want that. So he has to put them in his mind, keep them in his mind and be able to work with them. Because he has the ability to be able to walk to the other end of the aisle and talk to his fellow lawmakers. So he must be able to do that for this thing to actually be a success. And so that's what I think about this whole thing. And on that note, I'll be ending this podcast. I think I've covered pretty much everything. And whatever is remaining that I've not covered, I think we can all understand the whole point of this podcast at this point is that few things. $400 billion will be spent on distribution of vaccine. $1 trillion will be spent on direct payments to American people in terms of $1,400 for their pandemic package relief and also $400 weekly for those who are unemployed. And they'll send that to September. Now, the contrast on that note is that Biden plans that he will also seek to link the level of unemployment benefits to general economic factors so that benefit increases automatically when the unemployment rate spikes. So what if it does not spike? That's another thing for interpretation for another day. But hey, so that one, and the third part of it is that you'll be giving $350 billion to state and local governments, namely California, Texas, and New York, and other states like that. So that's the issue right now. And it did not address like his $15 minimum wage plan. Well, the Congress don't like that. I mean, the conservative lawmakers do not like that idea. They think it's too much. They think it's not sustainable. The fact that he wants to give these people all this money, the states and local governments all this money, they don't like that. They think it's like a bailout. And the fact that it did not even make mention of their liability protection for businesses is super annoying to those lawmakers who are conservatives. All right, because if you did not mention the liability protection for businesses generally, like the Tyson Foods and all those ones that mess with their employees, they are concerned that there'll be a lot of litigations, and that will not all go well for these businesses because they'll just be spending all their money in courtrooms. So those are things that he did not talk about, and they are really strong issues. So they'll have to renegotiate. Hopefully they don't negotiate till December because these people, they are very slow. That's what I think. And now, corporations that will be taxed, don't make no mistake, America. If it's taxing corporations, it's taxing you, it's taxing me, it's taxing all of us a lot more. So how would that affect us? We do not know, but you see in your paycheck. Those are the issues that we should be concerned about. Do I think his plan is progressive? Yes. Do I think his plan is achievable? I think yes. Do I think it's sustainable? Time will tell. So we shall see. But at the end of the day, my point is that we should not incur a lot of debt. Too much debt to be taking care of special interests. If we don't need $1.9 trillion as a nation, we should not go and get those because all that money, they are going to be borrowed from somewhere and we have to pay this money back. On that note, I've come to the end of this podcast. Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. I remain as Sam Raju. Do not forget, guys, always remember to wear your mask. Stay blessed and bye for now.